Hello and welcome to the Legendary Backlog. We're glad you're here. In our show, both hosts are longtime friends named Brian, and we cover our game over 5 years old each and every week. This is episode 17, and we'll be covering Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. I am Brian, and you can find me at TryWhenBrian on X. You can follow the show on Instagram and Facebook at The Legendary Backlog, and on X you can find us at Legend Backlog. If you listen to the show and you like it, please follow us on Patreon at The Legendary Backlog. It's free and it'll give you access to all our sites. You can listen to the podcast as well as interact with us on certain posts. My co-host is also Brian. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Hello, my name is Brian, and you can reach me online at Nostalgic Pixel on X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel, Nostalgic Pixel, a Twitch channel, Nostalgic Pixel TV, and lastly, nostalgicpixel.com, where you'll find my writings. How's it going, Brian? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. This week, the household's been sick. I'm holding on strong so far. I haven't been sick. So that's a good sign because I don't want to go to work sick tomorrow. And and then we watched Napoleon Dynamite for the first time with my daughter last night. She liked it. She cracked up, but at the end, she was like, "It wasn't a real movie. It was just a bunch of little skits." And me and my wife totally disagreed about that. We thought it was a good movie, and it all came together at the end. But it was pretty awesome to go back and watch it.
Yeah, that movie definitely improves on multiple viewings for sure.
Yes, it does.
It's like the first time you get it, but every time you watch it, you pick up more and more. It's great.
This is something interesting, right? Like, going back and looking at it now was like 21 years later, I think. I don't identify as much with the kids anymore. I more like identify with them almost as they're my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, watching my kids go through that, or watching another kid go through that. What me and my wife didn't realize until last night is that it's a coming of age story. The grandma gets hurt, and basically everybody moves on with their life in a certain way at the end. I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but Pedro moves on, and Napoleon moves on with his life in a different direction, and then the uncle, I can't remember his name right now, but he moved on. It was an interesting way of looking at it now after 21 years. That was for sure.
Yeah, that uncle showed up later on in seasons of White Lotus. When I saw him, I was like, "Oh, good to see him again." I know he's done other acting, but I hadn't really recognized him in a long time in something.
Yeah, I was looking at IMDb, and the one that actually surprised me has done a lot of roles is Pedro. I can't remember his name right now, but he's actually been in a lot of things, a lot of movies. Like Napoleon Dynamite is not even his first one he's recognized on IDM, so he's done pretty good. He looks completely different in every movie, but so you would never know him if you saw him. But
and IMDb,
yeah, on IMDb, they show how they show him in different movies. He looks like really cool, and he's got long, slick back hair, and he looks nothing like he did in Napoleon Dynamite. So
yeah, I remember him in Crank.
Yeah, Crank's on there too.
Mm-hmm.
IMDb. So how has your week been, Brian?
Oh, my week's been all right. Not too much going on. Let's see, besides playing this game, I thankfully haven't been sick, but had some mornings where it just felt like I was going to be, but it turned out that was it. Again, we're having a really cool summer. I've been, still going on my walks, but even if I hit later in the evening, it's not terrible. So the weather's been pretty good here. One of the things I did this week, I went and saw the movie Fantastic Four. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed seeing that in the theater.
Was it everything you expected?
Well, it's everything I wanted it to be. I've seen all the other Fantastic Four movies, and this one by far is, a country mile ahead of all the previous entries. So that was good. 1999 is a really special year for me, I think, in movies. So I watched a movie that I hadn't seen from 1999 called The Limey. Steven Soderbergh directed it. Anyway, I watched the movie, and even after I watched the movie, I heard that the audio commentary between the director and the writer is pretty wild. So I watched that, and I watched it again, listening to the commentary. And yeah, the writer of that movie is just dressing down like Soderbergh and talking about how he cut all the backstory of his character and left it into like one photograph of backstory in the movie. It just kept going on and on and on about him. And it was a pretty heated exchange that you don't normally get in an audio commentary. But like I said, that made it more about as entertaining as you could get for an audio commentary. So I knew that going in the first time, just even watching it. So I knew after I watched it, I was going to turn it on, watch it again, this time with the commentary. It was a pretty good movie. It's about a guy who lost his daughter, and she died in a car accident, and he's going, like, she's in LA, and I don't know where he's flying from, but he's flying from out of town. He's British, so maybe he came from Britain at the time. But anyway, she died in a car accident, and he was kind of investigating what exactly happened to her, and then trying to reenact some sort of revenge, because he just felt that she was, too young to die so soon. And a car accident seemed a little sketchy, like there's a little more going on, and there was. That's kind of what's been going on here. Just watching some movies, playing some games. Oh, I been wanting to play there's a new game that came out on Steam, and it's on everything. It's called Earthian. It's cool because it's like a Genesis game, basically, by Yuzo Koshiro, the guy behind making Streets of Rage 2 and the music. So it's got great sound. Anyway, it's cool to see that someone who made Genesis games back in the day, it just made a new Genesis game today, except now it runs on Steam and all the other consoles. But one thing someone noticed is that it's not just a Genesis game, it's a full-blown Genesis game, because in the Steam, like if you buy it through Steam, you can find the Genesis ROM, and it's encrypted, you can get it decrypted, but basically you can run the ROM right on a Genesis, if or a Genesis emulator or Analog Pocket. So that's something I'm looking to do, and I'm excited. I kind of want to play that game. It's a shoot 'em up, so it's a spaceship shooter. But the music is really good because, like I said, the Yuzo Koshiro, he's known for really good soundtracks. So I'm excited about that one.
Sounds good, man. Bringing back the old Genesis games.
Yeah, new Genesis game, old developer.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and get into the game of the week: Uncharted 2: Among Thieves.
All right, this was a good one.
Yeah. So this, going back to this game, like just to preface this is that whenever I beat this game on the PS3, I thought it was like the best game ever. And my opinion has kind of changed over the years, up and down on it. But going back to it, it still holds up pretty well, but it's definitely not the best game I've ever played. I can say that. But it is a great game. What was the first time you played it? How did you feel about it?
For me, I didn't race through it initially. Like I took my time a little bit in beating it. But for me, the part that stuck is as soon as I beat it, like the next day I went into work and I got laid off. And while it's not connected, it did stick with me. So when Uncharted 3 came around, I was in no rush to beat it. I did, newsflash, I did beat it and I still kept my job. It was just bad timing and it wasn't at all related. But this time, going back and playing it, like even though, it's not your favorite game of all time, this game, like not many games do this to me, but like I picked up the game and I ended up playing it for like 6 hours straight in like one sitting. Well, actually it was more like 10 hours, but I was just shocked. Like I got through 80% of the game in like one sitting and about 10 hours. It was so much. I really got hooked into it.
Yeah, I like the way it plays like a movie to me. It's like action, then basically like a movie breakdown.
Yeah, it reminds me of that commercial. Remember about the guy talking about Dear PlayStation? Thanks, I'm playing Uncharted. My girlfriend thinks it's a movie.
Yeah, that's basically how it feels. I mean, it's like you get past action, they automatically break to a cutscene, and then it's like then you're stuck doing more action or some character development, then more action, and it twists and turns. People could double cross each other, so. It's got a good plot. It's got a great story, I think. The acting and animation is just amazing in the game.
Yeah, the voice acting is amazing. It's really top talent, and they still are. They've always been. It's like Troy Baker is one of them, and then who's the voice of Nathan Drake?
Nolan North, voice of Nathan Drake.
Yeah, he's in a ton of stuff, especially the Deadpool video game that's on PS4. It was originally on PS3 and 360. It's become pretty rare. He's funny. He's a really good voice actor. Nathan, what did you say his name again was? Nolan North, right?
He's a good, yeah. The acting in this game is just top notch. The cutscenes are really believable. You know, it's like almost like you could see this done as a TV show instead of a movie, for example. You know, and not much editing as far as camera view, lighting, and acting. It would just be real people instead of a video game.
Yeah, even the supporting cast, like Sully, is great, and Sully is such a good character in this game and in this series that I think when the movie came out, like, and they had Mark Wahlberg, he was way miscast for this role because Sully needs to be a bit of an older uh, character than Mark Wahlberg, and as old as Mark Wahlberg might actually be, he doesn't play his age.
Yeah, like I think Sully nailed it in the game series 2, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm agreeing with you. I don't think the casting of Mark Wahlberg was the best thing for Sully. And it kind of changed Sully from like a behind the scenes kind of like unsung hero to like a partner, is how I felt it in the movie.
Yeah, it seemed like that property was in limbo to make for a while, and at one point they had Mark Wahlberg's name attached to probably be Nathan Drake. But then, time went on, and then they kept him on the project, and they just moved him over to Sully, and they kind of just readjusted Sully to be more accommodating to being Mark Wahlberg. But for me, the gameplay repetition was not less about action cutscene. It was more like you're trapped in a room, kill everybody, and then you're going to move forward, and then now you're going to be in a room that's a climbing like puzzle that you have to figure that out, and then after you figure, it's like where you're not shooting everybody, figure out like the puzzle in the game, and then you figure out the puzzle, and then you're trapped in a room, you got to kill everybody and to get out. But there's only a few times where you can actually just run away from the whole thing, but that's fine because there's later on in the game there's some enemies, and it's just like even everybody in the cast is telling you just run. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to run until the next cutscene. Hopefully we'll trigger the next event. Because some of these things you just can't sit there and fight.
The climbing is one of those things that, like, here's an example, right? Like, one of the things that I clearly remember from when this was released, like on the PlayStation 3 to today, is I clearly remember the train that you have to climb up at the very beginning, right? It's not a spoil. That's where the game starts, right?
Yeah, you have to climb up out of the train for sure.
And redoing that was amazing, but the climbing overall for the game, it starts to get a little old. I can kind of see where in Jedi Fallen Order, and the Jedi series with EA, what is it, Jedi Survivors, the sequel? They also do the same climbing, right? And I remember when I was playing that, I was kind of like, I'm kind of getting burned out on this whole climbing. I like it a little bit, but to me, there was way too much climbing. Another thing I kind of thought of looking back at it is there's way too much enemies. I'd almost prefer the enemies to be harder and have fewer than just be able to gun on the train, gun down like 150 people.
Oh, yeah. And just speaking about climbing, too, like one of the things I remember there was a big conversation about climbing is, how like almost 90% of the time, like all the climbing spots are well marked and located. Either they're like almost a different color or whatever, but they're very like recognizable that's a place you can climb just by how it's marked, like all the grips and stuff. Every once in a while, like you'll get to a spot where it's like, okay, I need to get up there. Like, how do I climb? Where you're like looking for the things to climb, and it's just they're not very visible. But that's only like a small percent, and that's only because you get so trained to looking for certain things to identify itself as you can climb this. And it got so crazy that people were just making fun of other games. It's like, oh, look, there's this yellow bar here. You must be able to climb that. Just, it would translate in other games. People would just point that out, that it was just like the mechanic.
Yeah, I don't know where the yellow like marker to like climb walls started. I know the Tomb Raider series used white to do it. Most games use yellow. Even Final Fantasy VII Rebirth used it to climb things. I mean, it's way out. It's way overdone in the industry. But I did not remember that we were doing it all the way back then. I thought it was something that came out in like the last, maybe like 7, 8 years, but no, it's been around forever.
Yeah, it started at least with the Uncharted series.
Oh, so? The Uncharted series is what started that. That's pretty cool.
If it didn't start it, definitely popularized it.
So what did you think about the animation overall with like the cutscenes and during the gameplay and all that?
Yeah, I thought it looked really great. But one of the things, so what I noticed with the cutscenes in regards when I started playing the game in the beginning, I went back and played the PS3 version because I had everything unlocked and I could just start from whatever level. I didn't necessarily want to start from the beginning. But what I noticed is I picked a skin like Donut Drake, which is just an overweight Drake, that I noticed when it got to the cutscenes, it became really noticeable because they would drop the skin and he would be regular Drake. So I could tell which ones are like in-game cutscenes and which ones weren't in-game cutscenes. And to be fair, like those cutscenes, they look amazing. They look really good. And they fit really well with the character. The only way I could tell is because my character skin was different. But otherwise, it's like almost indistinguishable between actual gameplay and the cutscene.
Yeah, the cutscenes are really nailed well. They're not only nailed well from like I was kind of repeating myself here, but just to emphasize, they're not only done well from like an acting perspective or like a moving the story along perspective, but like they're shot as if they're movie shots. They're like really unique angles a lot.
Yeah, everything's very cinematic.
Yeah, very cinematic. The way they follow one character to the next, and you get the back and forth between characters. Speaking of characters, what did you think about Chloe? Kind of the addition of her instead of Elena the first game only being like the girl. Like she was a lot different, and she kind of challenged Drake's like thinking, and some ideals.
Well, I definitely like the character Chloe, and Elena definitely shows up in the game pretty quick too, where you end up having to deal with both of them, and they're very different characters. I remember, more of a Chloe later on in some of the games too, but like, yeah, her character is a lot of fun. Like Chloe, she's definitely in this game is someone you're never 100% sure if she's with you or not. At the same time, you feel responsible for her if anything were to happen, so you're always looking out for her where you can. Go back and forth, on again, off again, like as in, like, do you trust her or not? At the same time, you have Elena there that you really seem to, have a lot of feelings, even though she walks around in the beginning, calls herself last year's model, which I thought was pretty funny.
Going back to it, like if you would have asked me before I started playing this for this podcast, when did Elena show up? I would have told you pretty late in the game, but it's amazing. She actually shows up pretty quick.
Yeah, she shows up in about like the first hour.
Yeah, but the character development with Drake and Chloe is like pretty strong for the first like several chapters.
Yeah, but then she disappears and it's you and Elena for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And then she shows up at the end, then Chloe comes back in the picture towards the end. Hey, did you notice though when you're hanging around with these and you're in a gunfight, that they actually pull off a few good shots?
Yeah, they do pretty good.
Because they're not totally useless. I was thrilled to see that like they were actually taking things out. And while maybe they weren't killing the guy, I just put in a few extra shots as well to knock him down. But I was happy to see that they're actually being useful and actually taking things out with you. Like they were shooting people that were coming up from behind me, which I felt was nice.
I think that the battle or the gunplay is really good. I love the way you can zoom in, kind of like Call of Duty, but it's still third person. But I like how you can zoom in to get your target. That's a really nice feature. The aiming speed at which the joystick moves on the PS5 and PS4 and 3, all three feel really good.
Yeah, one thing I noticed when playing, I played both on the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, and honestly, if whatever system you have, if you have a PlayStation 3, 4, or 5, any version of this game you play is gonna be a good time. That said, there were some interesting changes in the controls. Just makes sense from 3 to 4 and 5. Is that with the PlayStation 3 controller the way it was, it didn't really have like the best triggers. So the shooting is like R1 and L1 are the top like aim and shoot. And then when you play on the PS4, you have better triggers. So the gunplay is down below, which is a lot more, enjoyable in a way. I like, especially going back playing it now with controllers that you have.
It's a lot more standard nowadays to have the gun like that.
Oh yeah, it's not only just standard, but like it feels better. Yeah, I like the controls changed as well on that one.
The one thing I didn't like about the combat is that like if you give up a gun, you basically lose all your bullets for that gun. That's one thing I kind of wish you could just.
Yeah, you have a limit of only carrying around 2 guns, but it becomes a real like. The good news is this isn't like for some part of the at first when I was playing the game, I was looking around everywhere like I had scarce resources, like it was like a survival horror, or I'm playing like Last of Us and I'm trying to pick up everything I can. And it's not really that way. The good news is that you're never really short on ammunition unless it's this particular gun that you like and those enemies that you're fighting aren't around. So I ended up having a lot of fun switching around the guns, and I really enjoyed sneaking up on people because oftentimes if you sneak up on someone and choke them out, you'll get an extra item drop, and a lot of times the extra item drop will be a grenade, or one of the guns I really liked is the handgun is like the pistoli or whatever. Like that gun is like a shotgun handgun, and that it's just like one shot kill, but it doesn't have range. If you want range, the Desert Eagle is like that's the best one. Although even though you have like 6 bullets, I know okay, one shot, one kill. That's 6 guys, and then I'll worry about another handgun later after I get rid of those bullets. But like I had a lot of fun switching around with the weapons, even though there's a limit of only like 1 rifle and 1 handgun.
Yeah, I like the switching of the weapons. It forces you to play with different weapons, per situation, per what you have as far as ammo.
Mm-hmm. And later on, I was fighting some really tough enemies, and like as soon as I beat one of them, I picked up his gun, and then I was just like one shot, like 1 or 2 shot other guys. So it's nice when you can pick up some of those really powerful weapons like that. And I like throwing the rockets and stuff. Those are so satisfying when you shoot like a rocket launcher at somebody.
That's what I was gonna say. Is my favorite 2 weapons was the sniper rifle and the RPG.
I like the grenade launcher. That was so much fun, just shooting like boom, and it just hits them. And it was some funny time when sometimes like there's these 2 guys standing right next to each other, and I shoot like a grenade right into the chest of one guy, and it blows up, and they both go flying back. And then the other guy gets up, and I'm like, what? No, a grenade just blew up like 3 feet away from you, and you're going to get up. All right, here's another one. And then I just send it off to him, and it's sure enough, it's going to take him out. But it's just like, really? You're going to get up after this? It's like, oh, if I was you, I'd just lay down. Like, just stay down. And the body, you're right. That's the other thing with this game. And it was noticed then, and it's noticed now. It's like the body count, like Nathan Drake at the end of this game is like a mass murderer. Like this guy is a one-man army. Like he went against all these armies, and he's the one man.
That's the one thing that's kind of like pulls at the nature of Nathan Drake, because he's looking for fortune. He's willing to do some kind of shady stuff to do it, like break in museums and stuff like that, or or steal from underneath people he knows sometimes. But the thing is that he always tries to walk the good guy path, right? But then at the same time, in a level, he'll kill like 75 people,
Yeah, and then for me, like I've grown up watching like Indiana Jones, and while this has always felt a lot like Indiana Jones, every time he talks about treasure and money, I'm always, it belongs in a museum. It's like, come on, but yeah, you're right. He does in this game and in others, like he does, some thievery and stuff like that, where he's not it's not like black and white exactly on everybody. There's a lot of gray area, and like as we mentioned, Chloe, with her, there's a lot of gray area. Like she's with you, she's not with you, she's against you, she's working with you, but a lot of back and forth.
I have a theory on Nathan Drake that he's the first mutant in that universe to ever exist, and he doesn't know it. That's why he's able to climb.
Yeah, his grip strength is insane. Like seriously.
Yeah, that's why he's able to climb like crazy, and even have like stuff on his back, and just like should fall and grab himself with one hand and just hold, and just amazing.
Or just make those giant leaps and then just grab onto a handhold by his hands and like keep him going. And yeah, he's got insane grip strength. It's It's ridiculous on that, but it's fun.
If it was real, it'd be a wonderment to behold, you know?
And as we pointed out with all this, it's like so there's 4 Uncharted games so far, and I don't think they're planning on making another one. Well, there's a 5th one if you count like the Vita one, but basically there's 4 titled Uncharted, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 Uncharted's. But like by the time you get to the 4th one, after if you played 1, 2, and 3, you really get the idea that this guy should start considering retiring. All the miles he took his body through. He's not like a character that's going to be able to do like 6 or 7 or 8 of these. After a while, it's going to be like, come on now, your body can only take so much.
Yeah, especially as he gets older, right? Because you can imagine him being like 55 and doing the same stuff. But we'll say this, though.
Yeah, it'd be like Sully.
After you named all the Uncharted things, one of the things that brought to mind was the Vita Uncharted Golden Abyss. I played through that, and that was a great game. And it's kind of almost terrible that that's just stuck on the Vita. There hasn't been a port.
Yeah, it's kind of lost to time right now on the Vita.
Yeah, it's just like, because if you had this Uncharted collection, I feel like you'd want to play that game too. It's about the same length as a normal Uncharted game. It has the same kind of puzzles, climbing, action,
voice actors.
It's really good. So I think that game needs to be put on like a PS4 release or a PS5 release or something someday.
Yeah, they should definitely consider bringing it back. Because even if I remember correctly, that game, if you play it on like the PlayStation TV, it's blacklisted. So you can't play it on the PlayStation TV unless you have it hacked. And even if you hack it, there's some touchscreen buttons and controls that kind of get in the way. It is possible, but it's not really a good experience to even try it there.
Well, you can use, if you have a Vita TV and you have it, you can play it with a PlayStation 4 controller and use the touch part on top as the screen part on the Vita. But it's just the fact that you have to go through that much trouble, The games really should be accessible and playable. And I think they're going to do that whenever the next Uncharted game comes out, I think they might do that as a prequel to it,
That would be good if they recognized that game and brought it out in a collection. That'd be nice.
Yeah, one thing we need to talk about is how big of a significant upgrade Uncharted 2 was to Uncharted 1. And Uncharted 2 is considered the best in the series, and it came out only 2 years after Uncharted 1. So
yeah, and they got 3 of them in a generation. And they did Last of Us. So they did, like, Naughty Dog was on fire that generation. Like, they did 4 big games, and like Uncharted was really early. You could definitely tell all the stuff they learned in Uncharted 1, they put to good use in Uncharted 2, and really even pushed it even further. Like today, like I was saying, I was playing the game on the PS3 and the PS5, and both versions, the game looked gorgeous. It looks great. There's so much polish in this game. It looks so good.
You know what? The up-res and everything looks really good on the.
Well, yeah, the increased frame rate alone is nice. But yeah, it's now 1080p or up-res to 4K. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really nice touch. I'm glad they have that option available. I didn't have to break out the PS3. I know you did, but I was willing to start over because, I already beat the game, I felt like, on the PS3. So I was like, hey,
Well, I ended up playing the PS3 for about 2 or 3 hours, and then I went back to the PS5 and played that almost all the way through.
Oh, okay.
In like I spent about 10 hours of sitting. No, I only spent like I only did like a few chapters on the PS3. I jumped into like chapter 5, and by the time I got to chapter 7, I was like, okay, I don't want to. I'm not going to play through the game here. I just wanted to jump in a little bit, but now let me go start from the beginning and play on the PS5, and I did. And then I was like, oh, okay, now I got to the part where I was, but it was like I don't want to stop playing, so I just kept playing and playing and playing, and I got through like 80% of the game in like one sitting.
It's an addictive game. I mean, to be honest with you, because of the sickness in our house this week, like Mary, there was like 3 nights where she basically just laid in bed, and I had to take care of dinner, the girls, everything, So I was like really tired this weekend. When I got to play it, I was like, I'm really just not in the mood to play it. But I instantly got into it, and I was like, yeah, this is a good game, I do like the climbing parts, but they get old to me. I know that's a rinse and repeat, but yeah, that's the only thing that just kind of gets annoying to me is just because like it's so easy for him to climb, but yet and it's so marked most of the time. It's just kind of like it's like a break almost. It's like you get these big action parts, and when you climb, it's like that's your break to kind of
The areas
like
that I had the
reset.
hardest part figuring out to climb, where they weren't as clearly marked, was like in the ice areas and stuff. And so there's some areas levels where it's like there's just ice everywhere, and it's just harder to discern where to climb and stuff. And some places you want to climb and you can't, and you're like, oh come on, this monkey, this guy can climb on anything, but like nope, not everything. Some of my favorite levels in this game, you spoke of how the game started off where you're on a train or you're in a train. My favorite level isn't necessarily the beginning of the train, beginning of the game where you're on the train. It's the later one where the train's moving down on the tracks, and you're going from cart to cart on the train. That level is so much fun and so dynamic. It's really fun. And the next one after that is the one where you're on like the trucks and you're jumping from one truck to the next as the trucks are like catching fire because everyone's shooting at them. Like that, those level designs, those are so dynamic. They're so much fun. That train is that one where you're on the train again. It's just and it's moving and the way they figured it all out, like the certain checkpoints that you reach where it shows it, like it's really so well done. I really liked it.
I completely agree with that. The train, like what I said earlier, was like there's parts from my first playthrough that like still stick out today. And I was saying the beginning train that you start on was one of those, and the train where he kills like 150 people going up this train, the train level, yeah,
And
that
like
was
two
sticks out to
helicopters.
me. Yeah, and Shambhala sticks out to me too because that was real memorable. It's
Mhm.
real pretty when you get there. The environment. It's just there's so much about this game that I still remember, which is kind of crazy considering I played and beaten so many games since. But yeah, it still holds up. My daughters were a little bit interested in it. That was kind of cool.
It's a pretty
When I was
game.
playing it, they were like, "Is this a movie, Dad? Is this for kids?" I was like, "Well, you guys can play it. It's like PG, it's like
Yeah, it's like
PG
PG-13.
or whatever."
Yeah, if they're into Indiana Jones movies, this is like in the same ballpark. In fact, we just
Yeah, I
had a
would agree with
recent
that.
like Indiana Jones game that plays a lot like Uncharted. So, it's finally come back around.
The original concept for the game was originally Thor's hammer and not Shambhala. The Thor hammer part got taken completely out of the game. I didn't know that
I didn't
before the
either,
research.
but
Did you?
for me, it's more like the plot device. It's less. The location is really cool and everything, but like what they're trying to do to get like this ruby emerald is it's whatever. Emerald, whatever ruby. They're going after some jewel that's worth millions of dollars, and no one's ever seen it. It's like a hidden treasure, and it's in this mystical place. It's all just like plot devices, but it's very, like you said, the art design and the worlds they create are just so vivid and so amazing. And just there are points in time where you kind of take a breath and like look around and just enjoy the scenery because there's some amazing skyboxes and everything. It's just really pretty.
Yeah, one of the things this game really kind of reminded me of is like we really don't need to have these triple A games all the time. We just need games that look decent and have competent gameplay loops. That are just really fun to play. Because like when I was playing this, I didn't mind the fact that it wasn't like like look like the Last of Us remake or something like that.
But this was a
So
AAA game.
uh, oh, I know, but what I'm saying is that the way it holds up today makes me realize that we don't need this. I don't. I think studios are doing the wrong thing, chasing like the best graphics ever when they should be chasing the
Yeah,
funnest thing ever, right? With these like 240, $300 million, games that they're making and not making their money back. I
yeah. The
think
gameplay
the
is
recipe
fun.
for
The
success
gameplay
is
is
to
good,
have,
and the shooting is
this
is
still
is
holds up
competent,
today,
and
is what I'm saying,
it's
right?
really
It was
competent.
made.
And one thing I noticed too with playing like the PS4 version
And
on
the
the
graphics hold
PS5
up
that they
really good,
added
you know?
little things is like as I was progressing through the game and the body count was going up and like stats would pop up on screen comparing me to a friend who had played this game and like they had 106 kills, I had 105 or whatever, like just showing certain statistics that it was kind of fun to see that even though this is a single player game, like it was popping up different statistics throughout the game comparing like my friends who'd played this game. So it was neat to see how they're doing with that. And that was just something that little thing they added to the game. Didn't change the way how the game plays. It just kind of brings up statistics and stuff. It was interesting and it was fun because like I said, this is a single player experience, and if you can bring other people in to like your single player experience, that enriches it more, I think, and especially makes you kind of want to do more. Like, ooh, look, I'm just this far behind my friend here on this. I can get more headshots with the shotgun or whatever. Let me do that.
Yeah, it definitely adds value. The game that I remember that did it the best was Detroit Becomes Human. At the end of levels on that, it gives you statistics on everything. It gives you statistics on what you picked, what other people picked, what your friends picked, what's the most popular, where you changed the route. I mean, it gives you everything. But the one for Uncharted is really nice. I mean, it's a really nice touch. But that's something I haven't really seen in games lately at all. I wonder if they just kind of like thought that there wasn't much value to do it or what, but I haven't seen that in games lately that I've been playing.
It kind of reminded me of the Wii U, and when I was playing some Nintendo games on the Wii U, where they had the Miiverse, and so like for an example, I was playing Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD remake, and one of the things you can do on the Wii version, well, it only came out on the Wii, the remake, is that you can put little notes in a bottle, and you can put them out in the water in the world, and you can find other people's notes in a bottle, and you can open them up and read them and stuff as you're like sailing around. So there's like a little bit of even though it's a single player game, that you can like have some sort of contact, or there is some sort of connection to other people in the world playing this game, even though you're all playing a single player experience. So there is some of that, which was neat to see, just even in statistics in playing
So
Uncharted
what
2.
are your kind of final thoughts on Uncharted 2?
Well, I think you're right. This game, it holds up so well that all they had to do was re-release it on the new console, add a few new things, but they didn't have to go through and remake the whole game. This is the second one in the franchise, so there's a few things like by the time you get to Uncharted 4, there's a few mechanics that they add, like with the rope. That so when I noticed it this time playing back, like there were scenes where you had a rope, but it was usually working with like a second AI character that had the rope. So there was a few. So there's some mechanics that I was looking forward to being able to have in Uncharted 4 that I didn't have in Uncharted 2. I didn't feel limited by not having that. Of all the games in the series, this one is the easiest one for me to go back to and play. And although I probably 4 is still solid, this one it holds up so well. And like it takes a lot for a game to hold me for like 10 hours and play. I usually get about an hour and a half of any game, and I usually kind of walk away taking a break. But this game really hooked me, and it's not like the first time I played it. So I really enjoy the second one for sure. This one game holds up so well, and if anyone is even new to the franchise, sure you can play the first one, and the first one has a lot of good story, and there's a lot of good things. The second one just kind of polishes everything that they did on the first one, and it holds up so well.
My final thoughts are kind of like the game holds up really well. The game is in its own right, it's a masterpiece, right? Did it age as good as I remembered it? I would say probably not as well, but it's still up there. It's still worth playing. I think if anybody really likes action pulp games, they should definitely check this out. Just not only for the action, but for the story and the characters as well. I think the game holds up really good in a lot of areas. I think just the only thing that doesn't hold up for me is the climbing. I think games like FromSoft and Elden Ring made me not really like climbing that much because you really don't do that in those games. But
Well, with Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom, the climbing on almost anything and everything, you get used to that. So when you go to a game where it's like, you can climb, but you can only climb on these marked spots over here. And then some places where you think you could
yeah,
climb,
it
you can't.
feels limited,
Another thing I wanted to bring up before we kind of completely final thoughts on this is the online component of this game is no longer available. They shut down the servers in like 2019. And while I'm not a huge deathmatch type of person, I do like playing games online with a cooperative experience, like we're player versus environment, so PvE. And there was like a 3-player co-op arena horde style mode that I really played a ton and loved. And one of the reasons why I kind of pulled up the PS3 version is because I had unlocked so many credits of unlockables that I wanted to try it out. But also, I wasn't sure if the servers were down, and I found out for sure, yeah, they're really gone. But it's like a horde mode, so you have like 2 or 3 of you, and wave and wave and wave after enemy comes, and you just have to survive. And I got really good at that, and I got even made some online like PlayStation friends playing it because we played it so much that is definitely missed. And I wish there was a way that they could bring some of it back in like the collector's edition, because that horde mode was just so unique. And I even going back now and playing through the game, as I got further and further into the story and get to certain areas, like I knew the maps because I played the online modes of these maps so well. When I was going back now and playing through the single player, it's like, oh, I remember all these. This is a good place to hunker down and hold out and just kill everything. Just let them come to you and like take them out. And just I knew where the choke points were of the maps because I played them so much. I really miss that. I wish there was a way they could bring that online gameplay back.
Yeah, the only problem with those is that, during the PS3, the end of the PS3, early PS4 era, it felt like every single player game needed to have an online component to keep it relevant.
Yeah, even Last of Us has an online mode, but that doesn't ever feel like you need to. Although I know there's some people that love the online mode. It never really felt like you needed it.
Yeah, but they thought that it would help keep games relevant and people would play them longer and sales would go better. I'm not sure if any data correlates to that or not, but I know the reason why they take the servers down is just because it's another entrance for security threats that they have to worry about.
Sure, I mean they can close the servers down for the PS3, but like put them back up for the PS4 and PS5 version, or different servers or whatever for them.
Yeah, they should. But I mean, in the dream world, yeah. But with the cybersecurity world we live in, that's probably not going to happen. But
I don't know. You see cybersecurity world, but I'm saying bring it online like you have online games for PlayStation 5. Like I'm not saying boot up the old servers from the PS3. I'm saying new servers for the PS4, PS5 release.
I understand.
They can do that. Online games exist. It's not a security concern. It's just a cost concern.
It is a cost concern because you have to update them whenever vulnerabilities are found in your system. That's where the cost concern comes in. So like even if you only have like 200 people playing this game, it might take 2-3 developers to make an update for it. So that's kind of where the cost concern comes in. But yeah, I agree that the online should be there on the PS5 and PS4 for sure. At least on the PS4, because I think the re-release is a PS4 game. Yeah, it is. So that would be really nice. Because I didn't play those very much, because like back then I was more like, I was into Call of Duty for online games and stuff like that. So when I beat Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, I just kind of like put them away. I didn't really play the online. And the same with The Last of Us. So I wouldn't mind, if it was available today, I would have gone back and really checked it out, see if anybody's played it.
Another game that had a similar type of mode, which everyone kind of calls it now as the default, is the Horde mode, and it was with Gears of War. And like, did you ever play Horde mode on Gears of War?
I actually did play Gears of War online because, if you remember, that generation didn't start off that fast. It's like when Gears of War came out, it was like so ahead of its time, graphically and just gameplay wise during the Xbox 3, PS3 generation, that I didn't really have a game to play for a while. So I I played a lot of Gears of War online. It was pretty fun. I liked it. Just winning a match with a shotgun straight to the chest is like so fun in that game.
Did you play the horde mode though?
Yeah, I played the horde mode.
Instead of deathmatch, did you play the horde mode? Yeah, so then you know what type of mode this is, and like I think you even remember seeing me, coming over to my house and seeing me play this game in the horde mode on the Uncharted 2.
Yeah, I mean I think it's a good mode. I think it's fun. I was the type of person that once I beat a game, I went straight on to the next single player experience. I wasn't like every game I want to play online. I kind of felt like at that time when this came out, I was a very young father. Things were really hard at home, so I didn't have time to really mess around with the online. Is what I thought in my head. Nowadays I have a little bit more time, so I'd probably give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were great. I think they were great additions. I'd like to see a little bit of that, not on every game like they were doing for a little bit there, but like certain games deserve it.
No, you're right. There's so many games they threw in online just so they hope you wouldn't go back and sell a game back or trade it in. They want you to keep the game. They didn't want a lot of used games on the market, so they figured if they gave you an online component, just as a simple deathmatch, that you might stick around. But yeah, those horde modes were just really solid.
There's one game that I did play a little bit of the online on. That's the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. I think was released on the PS5. Yeah, that version. I beat that game like 3 times, so I love that game, and it's the bow and arrow that I love about that game. So I did the online, and I tried to max out the bow and arrow. It was pretty fun. I had a lot of good time with that.
Another game I played was kind of reverse. It's like I played more online than the story mode, and the game is really story heavy. Was BioShock 2. Like I didn't play much of the story of BioShock 2. I didn't really like having to deal with the little sister and everything. So I played tons of the online because that was the first time they'd done the online. It was so much fun because in BioShock you have all those special powers. So there's like a million different ways to go about attacking your enemies and stuff, just besides shooting them. And so I thought I enjoyed the online of that I barely even played the story, just played the online.
Yeah, that's good days back then. So what are you up to this week, Brian?
Well, yeah, Brian, I was actually last week I was playing some more of the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on my computer, and I'm gonna probably go back and play some more of that now that I've played through Uncharted 2. And then I mentioned there's a new game that came out on Steam, Earthian, and it's on Switch and PlayStation, Xbox, and everything. But I'm going to take the Steam version and then get it working on my Genesis. And I want to play Earthian on my actual Genesis through like my EverDrive cartridge. Or I'll play it just on Analog Pocket if I can't get that to work. But yeah, I'm doing that. And I'm going to be going out of town this week. So I'm going to go ride the train to go visit my mom, and I'm gonna go up there with my sister. That'll be nice. So I'm gonna go on a train ride up to Dallas Fort Worth. So that'll be good. I'll only be there for a couple days, but I'm looking forward to some good Mexican food and barbecue.
Sounds good, man. Sounds like a good plan.
How about you? What are you up to?
Well, this week I'm going to be trying to get one of my cars fixed at the mechanic. So we dropped it off yesterday. My dad helped me. And then we're going to find out what's wrong with it and then try and get it fixed this week. And then on top of that, I got a really busy work week, so I'm going to do that. But my birthday and my wife's birthday's coming close, so we'll figure out what we're going to do for our birthdays probably this week and then let everybody know. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'll be up to this week. And then I'm going to play some games. I'm not sure what I'm going to play. I'm not sure I'm kind of in that place where I'm not sure what I'm in the mood for right now. Although I have been playing the Switch a lot, to be honest with you. I have been playing the Switch. I've gone back to Tears of the Kingdom, and I just love that game, And I started a new... I beat it twice, and I got halfway through the game once, and then I started a new one, because I just like how it starts. And that first, level up portion of it, where you're like, oh, I'm getting this cave, I'm getting this stuff that now I can take out these guys and all this. That's just really a magical part of that game. I mean, it really starts to slow down when you got the Master Sword and you got all these great weapons, and you can just basically take out anything almost hard, except for the underground. The underground's still hard, but Yeah, that first like level up and like just go explore the first area of the Hyrule. I just love that so much. I think that's like probably the best part of the game for me.
Yeah, I've sunk about 50 hours in that game, and I still have way more left to do in that game. And I do pop it in every from time to time and put a few hours in it and explore another area. There's so much into that game.
Yeah, I put something like 300 hours. In it. It's really sad. And yeah, not all on my Switch.
But yeah, like you, I was also thinking about this the just the first Switch. I know there's so much talk about the Switch 2 and with the Donkey Kong Bonanza game, and that looks interesting. It's not one to move the needle, but I was just talking with some people online, and I keep bringing it up, and I'm surprised. Uh, as far as like Zelda games, I played the Echoes of Wisdom, where you play as Zelda, and that was a lot of fun. But I'm still surprised we haven't got a Sheik game since I was playing Ocarina of Time, and you're gonna run across Sheik. I'm surprised Nintendo hasn't actually finished a game where you play as Sheik. I know that Retro Studios was working on one and it got canceled, but there really needs to be a Sheik game for a Zelda game where you play as Zelda as Sheik.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, yeah. So where can people find you, Brian?
Yeah, Brian, thanks. Yeah, people can find me online at Nostalgic Pixel on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, nostalgicpixel.com, and when these games like Uncharted and stuff, I've been streaming on my Twitch channel, Nostalgic Pixel TV. How about yourself?
You can find me at Trywin Brian on X. We want to thank you for listening to this show. If you liked it, please give us a 5-star review on your podcast app of choice. You can follow us on Patreon at the Legendary Backlog. It's the best place to follow us. You can listen to the podcast there. You can see all our posts, and you can also interact with us on there. So we really hope you check out the Patreon, the Legendary Backlog, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and if you want to find out what we're going to be playing next, definitely follow the Patreon. See you next time.